know too, nobody's here. That's why I asked you.
I hear some
Here's some rumblings.
Hello, Mr. Christopher.
Shake your hand, Chris, but you know.
No, please.
No, that after the meeting that was in here today, custodians came in, they wiped everything down, they sprayed the chairs. They're really good.
They're doing a
excellent.
wonderful job.
They are.
I like them.
They are to be commended. They always do a good job, though.
What's up, Mike? What's up?
Look past time, and you don't have a leader.
Who's our leader today?
Thought I was late. You guys aren't social distancing.
I was here first, sat right next to me.
Steve, you go back there or something. All right. We're gonna take this declaration as an ordinance. Was that the import of the?
No, you know, it's just a blueprint to decide what to do.
Because the state statute doesn't, it's silent on it. What?
I would go with the ordinance myself, but that's my thought process. I did talk to Melissa and said that.
Well, I saw that. It
Oh.
looks like the procedure is expedited though, right? Did I read that the right way?
Yeah.
So we could just change the title.
You can change the title, do it tonight.
Boom, right. Well, if that's the suggestion, I won't have any objection to it.
Here tonight after this.
No, I don't think so.
Kevin or Jerry or Tom, you're on the committee.
Yeah.
I don't know who wants to.
Okay. Okay, we'll start the meeting. In the absence of our chairperson, I'll take over. Courtesy of the floor. If not, let's move on to discussion. Municipal waste solid plan. Who's addressing us of that?
Good evening. So I would like to say, before we get started, I do have Serena Davis, who's the county's environmental services coordinator, on a speakerphone with me. She's kind of the person at the county that kind of took the reins of this whole solid waste plan update. And she's been working remotely for the past week. I didn't really see the sense in bringing her in for a hopefully a short meeting. So I would be happy to give you an overview of the plan, and if there are any questions that I can't answer, I will certainly defer to Serena, and she should be able to provide you a better response.
Okay, Bill. Bill, he's on the phone.
Okay. Anybody have any objections to that? Go ahead, Mr. Mealy, give us a lowdown.
Okay, can you hear me, Serena?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Welcome.
So essentially, the county undertook this solid waste management plan due to our requirements under Act 101, which is the Pennsylvania Municipal Waste Planning, Recycling, and Waste Reduction Act. And under this act, the counties have the responsibility for planning for the processing and disposal of waste generated within the county's boundaries, submitting a solid waste management plan to the Department of Environmental Protection for their review and approval, and is also to assure that the county has adequate disposal capacity for all the waste that's generated within our boundaries for a minimum of a 10-year period. Now, the current solid waste management plan that we have in place was adopted in 2010 and assured a disposal capacity up through the end of 2020. So the purpose of this 2020 plan revision is essentially to provide for an additional 10 years of capacity assurance, to develop recommendations on how the county can take steps forward to increase our recycling efforts and hopefully get closer to the state's 35% recommendation on recycling weight, and as well as to update the demographic data and the waste generation and disposal trends for the county. And lastly, to develop goals and recommendations to help our municipalities as well as the county itself to meet these recycling efforts. So just a little bit of history of, where we are with this plan. Back in February 2018, the county selected Barden and LaJudas as the consultant through a competitive RFP to help us develop this plan revision. Shortly thereafter, the county formed a solid waste advisory committee, or a SWAC, that was composed of county and municipal officials as well as representatives from the solid waste industry to help and provide us. We met regularly throughout the plan, and we took their feedback into consideration while we were developing it. So one of the first steps in this plan was to just look at the overall waste that the county generates. So the consultant looked at the waste that was generated over a previous 5-year period from 2014 to 2018. And this consisted of all the residential, the commercial, and the institutional waste that was generated in the county. And just to give you a sense of scale, the last year in 2018, the county had generated 323,000 tons of waste. And that doesn't include what we would consider a specialty waste, such as construction and demolition, sewage sludge that you would be receiving from a wastewater treatment plant, or septic systems, or regulated medical waste, so that those numbers are all excluded from that total. And in terms of the quantity of recyclables that the county had produced in that period, in 2018, we were at about 131,000 tons. So then we next kind of looked at what are the existing disposal facilities within the county that are currently accepting our waste within the plan. And the 2010 plan, there were 15 disposal facilities that had executed reserve capacity agreements with the county. And the majority, about 85% of the waste that the county had generated, wound up going to only 3 of the disposal facilities. Those being the Schrin Brothers landfill in Williams Township, IESI in Bethlehem, and the Waste Management Grand Central landfill up in Plainfield Township. And the county currently, on the current plan, we have 2 transfer stations in the county, those being East Penn and McAuliffe, as well as 5 other transfer stations that are located in contiguous counties.
Can you say that third one? I got Crin Brothers and Grand Central. They're on the designated disposal facilities, but what was the other one?
The Waste Management Grand Central.
No, I got that one.
Oh.
What was the other one? IE something?
IESI in Bethlehem.
Yeah, what's that? Because that's not on here.
Yeah, it's off of Apple Butter Road, if you're familiar with that area.
Oh, it's
okay,
listed as
Bethlehem
Bethlehem.
landfill.
Okay, so I'm not like totally out of, yeah, okay.
So the plan next kind of looked into estimating the future capacity that the county will be generating. So obviously that's highly dependent on a number of factors, population being arguably the largest driver. And they looked at data that was provided them by LVPC and their population projections, which predict a steady increase in the county over the next 10 years. They also looked at data on recyclables and organics that have been diverted from the waste stream, and data on the tonnage of the municipal solid waste that was previously disposed of in the preceding years, 2014 and 2018, to help with their projections. So the total waste is expected to increase over the 10-year period from 2020 to 2030. Again, that's largely just driven by projected population increases. And there's many factors and variables that can, change these numbers. Unforeseen population changes, changes in foreign markets for recyclables. In 2017, China instituted a ban on many of the recyclables that they were previously taking in an effort to a lot of the material they were receiving was contaminated from other sources, and it was, largely not worthwhile for them to take it. So their ban has considerably changed the recycling economics here in the United States, as well as just general trends in economic factors such as the rise of e-commerce, which has generated a considerable increase in corrugated cardboard with all the Amazon shopping that everyone does nowadays. So the next step in this process was solicitation of interests were sent out to municipal waste processing and disposal firms. They were largely sent out to firms that are already participating in our plan, firms that had expressed interest in participating in this current revision, as well as any transfer stations. So we received 17 responses from disposal facilities and 4 transfer stations that had agreed to provide disposal capacity over that 10-year plan. I believe it's a 5-year minimum with an option for an additional 5 years. And respondents were also asked to include a donation capacity for any kind of nonprofit and public cleanup events that may take place. And respondents also indicated a capacity for specialty waste such as sewage sludge and construction demolition. So as part of our SWOC and our consultant reviewed all of the submissions that we received. All of them were found to be valid and complete. So based on the agreements that we received, we're proceeding to recommend that the county enter into capacity agreements with the 17 respondents. And based on the assurances that they provided us, we'll have a projected excess of at least 30% for every year in this plan.
30%
Of the projected waste that will be
do you
generated.
think we'll recycle 30% of it?
No, I'm saying that based on the projections that the consultant thinks that we're going to produce and taking recycling out of the equation, we would have at least 30% capacity remaining in these landfills based on what they're saying we're allowed to, dispose
After
of.
10 years,
Yes.
we will have 30% left. That
May-
doesn't leave a whole lot of room.
No,
for-
maybe that's every single year. So
Okay.
like, just for, in the interest of clarity, if we have 100 tons of disposal capacity in a given year, in our worst-case scenario, we'd be generating 70 tons.
Oh.
So there'd be an extra 30% cushion.
But yet our landfills are still expanding, right?
Some of them are proposing to expand.
They ask for it, doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna get it.
No, I'm pretty sure they're gonna get it. Go ahead.
Mike, so, I mean, what you're basically, to Tara's point, thank you. Yes, Mike, what you're basically saying is every year, I guess what this does is it says, you gotta take care of your trash. How are you gonna do it for the next 10 years? And what you're saying is with these 17, we have a 30% buffer built in. So we could generate 30% more and still be covered. Does it cost us anything to get into these agreements, or they just agree to take our trash if needed?
Serena, can you answer that question? Did you hear it?
I heard half of it. Do we have to pay? Is that what the question was?
Yes,
The county does not, haulers are pay a gate fee as they enter to unload, but the county does not have to pay anything for these agreements.
Thank you. So this is just really to make sure we have somewhere for our guys, our trash to go.
Yeah, that's the primary purpose.
Got it.
Of course. But this goal of 35% from that we're supposed to meet with the state level, we're not even meeting nearly that.
We're at 29% currently, I believe, as of.
We recycle 29% of our products?
That was the 2018 number, I believe, yes.
Oh, but after China, what was the number?
Serena, do you have any updated information on, past? So in the plan, the last reported
for 2019.
recyclables or diversion rate was 29%. in 2018. Do we have any more current information based on like the China ban or anything like that?
No, we're gathering information now for 2019, but that's what was considered clean recyclables. So people may be recycling more, however, it's not considered clean, so therefore it goes to landfill. So it's more or less the clean recycling is what we've pulled out of what wasn't landfilled. Is that what the question? I can't.
Well,
Is that what the question was?
well, it sounds like it might still be too early to assess. I mean, we don't have 2019's full numbers yet, so I would say 2018 is the best information we have
But
available.
what is the state of recycling? I mean, from what I understand, single haulers have a real problem separating out the recycling from the garbage, but everything goes into almost the same bin. So how is it that we are recycling anyway, or are we?
Single stream.
Just about every municipality, aside from the city of Bethlehem, practices single stream recycling.
Right.
I mean, it has. What was there a more specific question or?
We're at 29% for 2018. She still hasn't gotten the data for 2019, but we were at recycling is the question. Does she have it? Is she going to get that number?
I don't think the 2019 data is readily available to us yet.
Wrap my head around this, exactly what this is trying to do. We're not in the garbage business in the county. So all we're doing is really laying out making sure our haulers have a place to go and that we can show the state that we have figured this out. I mean, we don't actually handle garbage in the county level, do we?
No, we do not handle garbage, that's correct. I mean, it's just, the county is responsible under Act 101 to ensure that all the waste that is generated from all our residences and businesses and commercial institutions, there is adequate capacity to dispose of it within the county.
So we're just responsible for the capacity to dispose of it, but the municipalities themselves are responsible to enact recycling programs and waste hauling. That's why at the municipal level, they have to decide whether they want one hauler or multiple haulers or how they're gonna institute their recycling program. I guess I'm just always concerned about, expanding landfills and the recycling. That seems like a huge, 35% seems like a big number, but I'm very surprised that we're recycling 29% given the scenario that we have and the ever-expanding Kryn landfill that take us up the whole entire mountain. When I was a kid, it's going back pretty far, but that was like one little postage stamp on the mountain. And now, I just drove by there with my kid, and he's like, why are all these mountains covered with tarp? And that's the landscape now, and that's our future if we don't figure out what to do with all this trash. Not saying that you can do anything about it, but I think we have to rethink how we're doing these things in the future. I know you can't stop
Mike,
waste,
Well,
but you can stop the
I'm
things that
just-
you put.
I'm just happy that we're not in the garbage business. We're just making sure we have places that our suppliers can go to. The county has, I know it's today, but the county has plenty of issues. I'm glad we don't have to deal with garbage as one of our issues, but that really has nothing to do with nothing. But I'm just happy all we're doing is finding the spots for the garbage people to go. And I agree. I mean, we got to get better at recycling and using our products to make last longer, not be a throwaway country. I get that, but that's not really the county's gig today.
I understand that. But like today, right, we got the memo that says that we're not going to be doing recycling programs because of the COVID virus, right?
Correct.
So I know that e-waste and like appliances and waste like that is a huge thing. People don't know what to do with that. So now that we are canceling these kind of things, which we have to do, I understand. This kind of waste is, I feel like we are going to find this more prevalent.
Chairman Zirinsky.
Hello?
Bill.
Bill?
Hey, I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing, but I can hear. and I had to say something. I know I'm not on the committee, but maybe I missed something here. But was the question asked about how much incoming trash comes from out of state? Was that question asked and answered?
No.
I don't believe that question was asked or answered, but that was on my mind. I'm not quite sure
Okay, I
that,
think that should be discussed, that's all. And I guess the question is, you know, how much out of state came to fill up what's already full, and how much is in the business plan for the new expansion coming from out of state?
We don't monitor trash. That's done through the state. They quarterly, they'll report on that. Is that what, I can kind of hear the question, but I would.
Serena, the question was,
Nothing to do with trash.
the question I believe was, do we have a sense of how much of the trash that we're receiving in Northampton County comes from out of state?
We know how much landfills accept, but we don't know where it's coming from. We don't monitor the haulers.
no,
They
it's state.
licensed any truck that's over 17,000 pounds, but they can go where they want. That's why we have the gate fees. So they try and stay closer to home, so they're not paying gas prices on top of gate fee prices. So we try to keep it close to home, but we can't ban anyone from coming in. That's a commerce law. But I can't imagine, you know, New York, New Jersey coming to Pennsylvania every single time they're unloading. Time restraints would affect a route. And then the fees, I'm assuming, would eventually catch up to them. So I know we get some, but not enough. I think that would make a big difference.
Point of order
Okay,
there.
just to follow up on that, if I may, Ms. Zirinsky.
Sure.
Was that put into the study at all? Because I just learned something about Act 101. So every municipality is going to be in the same position that we're in. They have to have a place for their stuff to go. So with you being located in Northampton County, was it put into the plan to make, I'm assuming that you had to make sure that all Northampton County's projected garbage is going to go there, but, so you didn't sift out, out of state, you didn't separate in your study?
Bill,
That's done through the
that's the
state.
different issue completely from what we're talking about. We're basically talking about what waste the county's doing. Am I correct with that?
Okay.
We're just talking about the capacity.
We're talking about the capacity that the county is using. We really don't have any control over outsiders, because if you look at what's actually hauling in there, you'll find that half of the business in Pennsylvania have New Jersey plates on all their trucks. So we couldn't tell you what's Pennsylvania and what's New Jersey is dropping over here in these landfills. That's something that's out of our scope.
But that's a state issue,
Well-
right?
It's a state issue, it's
Well,
not a
that's-
county
that-
issue.
So we don't,
That's an
we
issue
can't
because
regulate.
some people aren't in support of this, and they don't want to see it grow any more than it has to, and we don't really want to put New Jersey trash in our landfills in Pennsylvania so that one house can't see over the other, because there's a new mountain that just got created, and it's garbage.
Right.
Kevin?
Kevin, do you have something to say?
Again, Mike, what are we really doing here? We are making sure that there's enough trash capacity out there for our haulers to haul, right? I mean, that's really our jurisdiction over this. I don't know if we can do much more than say, good job, you found 17 places so we can justify where our trash is going. Am I wrong? Do we have any?
Just justify who's bringing the trash to the landfills, right?
Well, I mean,
And have that capacity.
I don't think we have any control over that.
yeah, I believe it's,
No.
yeah, we really can't control who brings trash in here.
I thought that's why you have 17 listed.
For us to use.
Well, that's just to ensure that the waste that's generated in Northampton County has a
Okay.
place to be disposed of. Right.
Okay, so that's one way that we're trying to control the waste, that we accept into the county, right? And that speaks to Bill McGee's point to some degree. No?
We certainly understand,
No.
we understand that this is a hot button issue, and, you know, a lot of people, have some very strong opinions on it, but it's really outside the scope of this study. And it's more of a legal question that, you know, this study does not address. Did you have anything to add to that, Serena?
No, that was well said.
Pretty much, if I'm not point of order here, they're just telling us that we have 17 places which we can dispose of our waste is what you're telling us.
That's correct.
And we're out of the county with at least 14 of them if we want to go. So we're just as guilty as anybody else. You know, basically what they're telling us is here's where we can go take our stuff.
Correct.
Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. That's all we got.
Yep.
We can't tell them how or
Nope.
any other way. We are just accepting it. Got to go to the state to do that, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So our contract, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, we have a contract with these 17 groups, or we just have an agreement? It's just an agreement saying that, hey, if your haulers need somewhere to go, we'll take your trash. Or is it an official contract?
I believe it's just an agreement. Is that correct, Serena?
Correct.
So they're just helping to carry out the 2020 plan into 2030?
Correct, yes.
Right, okay. Do we all have that? Bill, you clear? Bill?
Yes, yeah, I mean, yep, sure, I'll have to do a little bit of homework from the time I get from here to over there, but yeah, I just don't understand why they didn't break out the study a little bit, on how much out of state's coming in. I guess if you don't have to do it, then you don't do that extra part of the study, so.
Do you have a copy of the study?
Bill, Mr. McGee, sorry for the informality, I'm a little tired. The Constitution of the United States has a clause in it called the Commerce Clause. And the Supreme Court has interpreted that clause to mean that state governments cannot interfere with interstate commerce. The Supreme Court has determined that trash hauling is in fact interstate commerce. So many states have struggled with the whole notion of trying to limit other states' trash. If it will make you feel somewhat better, and they are to be believed, and you know, I'm not accustomed to people misleading me to my face, so I am believing them. Waste Management recently told me that 60% of the refuse that they receive is generated from Allentown to Stroudsburg and in Northampton County. So they're at about a 60-40 greater Lehigh Valley ratio. It's probably a little less than I'd like to see, because I agree with you, but that's the nature of the law that we deal with.
Thank you.
I just have one question. How are we handling electronic waste?
Well, the county offers, I believe this year we had, was it 7 collection events planned, Serena?
Right.
Planned, yes.
Yeah, obviously the coronavirus has kind of thrown a wrench in that, but the county does hold, last year we had, was it 7 last year, Serena? 6 last year, 7 this year were planned, where residents from within the county could show up. There is a small fee schedule associated with dropping items off. But the county hosts these collection events, as well as there's AERC, I believe. They're located in Allentown, Serena?
Right.
And AERC is a permanent facility where residents can go anytime to drop off electronics.
So even if we do not host an event, a resident with, what is it, e-waste, or could they do like an appliance or something like that, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They could drop it off there.
Yes, that's correct.
So, okay, that's a good thing to know, because then we can make sure that there's like some contingent plans, because, I mean, there is some talk about buybacks at the state level, to buy back waste like that. But I know that people can go to Staples too and like give back printers and things like that, and they'll take them, or appliance stores will have, they'll trade you the washer for the washer or something like that. So we're not totally void of possibilities during this coronavirus thing.
Correct.
Any other questions?
Just one more. if we're planning on doing any are we gonna post that so folks can know when the next, after we get out of the coronavirus?
Yeah, we'll make announcements on social media and, you know, through emails to all the employees to let them know you know, what our planned schedule of events are.
Thank you. Back to you, Madam Chairman.
Hey, thanks so much. This has been an interesting conversation today. I just want to thank everybody for showing up and being on the phone. Does anybody else have any other questions for Mike, or? No? Hey, thank you so much, Mike. Thank you, Serena, for joining us on the phone. Appreciate your help.
Thank you.
And just if I could briefly just, you know, the next steps, if it does get adopted by council, would be to, the plan would get sent to DEP for their formal and final, you know, review and approval. We'd expect that sometime in June, and the plan would then take effect January 1st, 2021.
Would there be any reason why the DEP wouldn't accept it?
I can't think of any. Serena,
What was the question?
is there any reason why DEP would not accept this plan?
No, they've been in the loop, so if there's any concerns, they would have been addressed by now. So I don't believe there'd be any holdups to why we wouldn't be approved.
So do we need to move this forward too?
So, yes, we need to move this forward.
I'll make a motion to move it
Second.
forward.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that was our whole entire meeting. We can adjourn now. Hey, Bill, we're adjourning. Oh, you take care of it in your company, that's as well.
Correct. If we have a client that needs